The massive alien research ship called Void Hunter floated quietly in the darkness of space. Its metal halls buzzed with the sound of machines working non-stop. Inside the ship's medical labs, strange blue lights flickered as alien scientists prepared for their most important experiment yet. Dr. Kang Min stood in front of a large viewing window, his 6 arms crossed behind his back. His purple skin gleamed under the harsh laboratory lights. For over 20 years, he had been the galaxy's most respected expert on alien life forms. But humans puzzled him more than any creature he had ever studied. "It makes no sense," Min said. Haru himself for the 100th time. "How do they do it?" The question had haunted him since the war began. Humans were supposed to be weak. Their technology was centuries behind the rest of the galaxy. Their bodies were fragile compared to most warrior races. They had no natural armor, no poisonous claws, no ability to breathe in space. Yet somehow, these primitive beings kept winning battles they should have lost. The Confederacy's finest military minds had studied human tactics for years. They sent their best generals, their most advanced weapons, their largest fleets. Nothing worked. Human colonies kept fighting back with nothing but scrap metal and determination. It was embarrassing. Min's research team had finally captured 3 live specimens from the human colony on Kepler 442b. The planet had fallen after a brutal 6-month siege, but these 3 humans had fought until the very end. They were perfect test subjects. The first specimen was a young man named Jin. He had worked as a mechanic on the colony, fixing broken mining equipment. Nothing special about him at all. Average height, brown hair, quiet personality. During the battle, he had somehow turned a simple welding torch into a weapon that destroyed 2 Confederacy war machines. The second specimen was a woman called Ari. She had been a school teacher before the invasion. Small, gentle, always smiling, according to the reports. But when the fighting started, she had organized the colony's defense so well that it took the Confederacy 3 times longer than expected to win. Her strategies were textbook perfect, even though she had no military training. The third specimen was Day, a farmer who grew vegetables in the colony's greenhouses. He was older than the others, with grey hair and tired eyes. During the final battle, he had led a group of civilians in a fighting retreat that saved hundreds of lives. The way he moved his people around the battlefield showed skills that should have taken decades to learn. Now all 3 sat in separate containment cells, staring at nothing. They had been prisoners for 2 weeks. They barely ate, they never spoke. They seemed completely broken by their defeat. "Fascinating," whispered Ho, Min's young assistant. Ho was still new to xenobiology, but he was eager to learn. His yellow eyes glowed with excitement as he studied the readings from the containment cells. "Their neural activity is completely normal, nothing unusual at all." Min nodded slowly. The brain scans showed typical human patterns. Heart rate was steady. Blood pressure normal. Hormone levels indicated mild depression, which was expected for prisoners of war. Everything looked exactly like it should for defeated humans. "Perhaps we were wrong about them," Ho suggested. "Maybe humans are not special after all. Maybe they just got lucky in a few battles." But Min was not convinced. He had seen the battle recordings too many times. The way humans fought was not luck. There was something else going on, something his instruments could not detect. The laboratory was quiet except for the hum of machines and the soft beeping of monitors. Dr. Min walked slowly between the containment cells, studying each human carefully. Jin stared at the floor. Ari sat perfectly still with her hands folded. Day leaned against the wall with his eyes closed. "Run another full medical scan," Min ordered. "Check for any biological anomalies we might have missed." Ho began pressing buttons on the control panel. The scanning equipment hummed to life, sending invisible beams through the containment cells to examine every part of the human bodies. That was when laboratory technician Yun made his mistake. Yun was checking the power systems when he accidentally triggered the emergency lockdown sequence. Red lights began flashing throughout the laboratory. Metal doors slammed shut with loud bangs. The ship's computer announced in a cold voice that all sections were now sealed for security purposes. In that instant, something incredible happened. All three humans opened their eyes at exactly the same moment. Not one after the other, but together, as if they shared the same mind. Their pupils dilated until their eyes looked completely black. The monitors connected to their bodies started beeping faster and faster as their heart rates climbed in perfect synchronization. Jin stood up slowly from his bench. His movements were different now, not the tired shuffling of a defeated prisoner, but the careful, controlled motion of a predator. His head turned toward the viewing window, where Dr. Min stood frozen in shock. "Phase 1 initiated," Jin whispered. His voice was calm and cold, nothing like the broken man who had been sitting in silence for 2 weeks. The word sent ice through Min's veins. He had never heard that phrase before, but somehow he knew it meant something terrible was about to begin. The emergency alarm screamed through every corridor of the Void Hunter. Red warning lights flashed on and off, casting weird shadows on the metal walls. Security Chief Tay grabbed his communication device with one of his 4 hands while reaching for his plasma rifle with another. "All units to level 3 immediately." Tay's voice boomed over the ship's speakers. His words echoed through the long hallways where alien soldiers were already running toward the containment area. "The specimens have breached containment. This is not a drill." But when the first security team reached the laboratory section, they found something that made no sense at all. The containment cells were still locked. The energy barriers were still active. The humans were no longer inside, but the cells showed no signs of being broken or damaged. "How did they get out?" asked Lieutenant Bin, staring at the empty cells in confusion. The answer came from the security cameras. The footage showed Jin simply walking through the energy barrier like it was not there at all. The barrier that could stop a charging battle. Beast had no effect on him whatsoever. Ari had done the same thing moments later, followed by Day. They moved through the most advanced containment system in the galaxy like it was made of air, but escaping was just the beginning. What happened? Next terrified every alien on the ship. The 3 humans were not running around in panic like escaped prisoners should. Instead, they were moving through the ship with a purpose that seemed impossible. Jin walked straight to the main power distribution center, a room that was not marked on any map the humans could have seen. Without hesitation, he began pulling apart the energy conduits with his bare hands. These were not ordinary cables. They were made from materials harder than steel, designed to carry enough power to destroy a small planet. Jin tore through them like they were made of paper. Sparks flew everywhere, but he did not even flinch when the electricity should have killed him instantly. Meanwhile, Ari had somehow found her way to the main computer control room. This area was supposed to be impossible to locate without detailed ship blueprints. The door was sealed with a security lock that required 3 different alien handprints and a voice command in the ancient Zephyrian language. Ari placed her small human hand on the scanner. The machine beeped once and the door slid open. She walked inside like she owned the place. Dr. Min watched all of this through the security monitors in his laboratory. His hands were shaking as he stared at the impossible scenes unfolding on the screens. Ho stood beside him, his yellow eyes wide with fear and confusion. "Check the neural scanners again," Min whispered. "Something is very wrong here." Ho's fingers danced across the control panel, calling up new readings from the scanning equipment they had used on the humans. What they saw made both aliens step backward in shock. The human brain scans were completely different now. Where before they had shown normal, quiet neural activity, now the screens blazed with light. Entire sections of the human brains that had appeared dark and unused were now burning with energy. It was like watching sleeping giants wake up. "Look at this," Ho gasped, pointing at the readings. "There are neural pathways here that we never detected before. It is like they have a second nervous system that was completely hidden. The patterns on the screen were unlike anything either scientist had ever seen. The human brains were not just active, they were connected. The 3 separate humans were somehow sharing information at a speed that should have been impossible. Their brainwaves were synchronized perfectly, like they were parts of a single mind. On the security cameras, they could see Ari working at a computer terminal. Her fingers moved over the alien keyboard with impossible skill. She was rewriting the ship's security protocols, turning the Void Hunter's own defenses against its crew. Every few seconds, another section of the ship would lock down, trapping alien soldiers behind sealed doors. "How is this possible?" Ho asked, his voice barely a whisper. "She is a human school teacher. She has never seen our technology before." Dr. Min watched Ari work and felt a cold understanding creep into his mind. The way she moved, the confidence in every keystroke, the perfect knowledge of systems she had never studied, it all pointed to one terrifying conclusion. "They are not fighting back," Min said slowly. "They are remembering." As if he had heard the words across the ship, Day suddenly turned toward the security camera that was watching him. His eyes were now completely black, like looking into deep space. When he spoke, his voice was calm and cold. "Phase 2 activated, all units converging." Those words sent a chill through every alien on the ship. But the real terror came from what happened next. Across the galaxy, on hundreds of human worlds and space stations, something impossible occurred. Every human settlement that had been sending regular communications suddenly went silent. Not destroyed, not damaged, just quiet. Communication officers on alien ships tried desperately to reach human colonies, but got no response. On the planet, New Terra, human farmers stopped working in their fields and stood perfectly still, staring at the sky. On the mining station Kepler 7, human workers put down their tools and walked to the communication center in perfect formation. On the research outpost at Wolf 359, human scientists turned off their experiments and began accessing computer systems they had never been trained to use. It was happening everywhere at once. Every human in the galaxy was changing, awakening, remembering something that had been sleeping inside them for their entire lives. Back on the Void Hunter, Security Chief Tay realized that his ship was no longer under his control. The humans had taken over essential systems in less than 10 minutes. His soldiers were trapped in sealed sections. His weapons were offline. His engines were running but not taking the ship where he wanted to go. "What do they want?" Tay asked, into his communicator. From speakers throughout the ship, Jin's voice answered him. But it was not the voice of a simple mechanic anymore. It carried the weight of something ancient and powerful. "We want to teach you," Jin said. "Class is about to begin." Captain Yu crouched behind the twisted remains of what used to be her command chair. Sparks flew from broken control panels all around her. The bridge of the Void Hunter looked like a war zone, but the battle had lasted only 12 minutes. 12 minutes for 3 humans to completely destroy the most advanced research. Vessel in the Confederacy fleet. Her communication device crackled with static as she tried to send an emergency message to command. Burns covered her purple arms where flying metal had cut her skin. One of her 4 eyes was swollen shut from the explosion that had destroyed her weapons console. "This is Captain Yu of the research vessel Void Hunter," she whispered into the device, trying to keep her voice steady. "We have lost control of the ship. The human specimens have taken over all major systems, requesting immediate assistance." The response came back filled with confusion. "Captain Yu, please clarify. Are you saying 3 prisoners have captured your entire ship?" Yu looked around at the smoking ruins of her bridge. 2 of her officers lay unconscious near the navigation station. Her security chief was trapped behind a blast door that the humans had somehow sealed from the outside. The rest of her crew was scattered throughout the ship, cut off from each other by the humans' perfect understanding of their own vessel. "They know everything," Yu gasped into her communicator. Her voice was getting weaker as smoke filled her lungs. "Our ship layouts, our technology, our battle tactics, they move through our corridors like they designed this ship themselves. It is impossible, but they know systems that took our engineers years to build. The humans had not just escaped their cells, they had taken apart the Void Hunter piece by piece, turning every system against its own crew. Jin had somehow reprogrammed the gravity generators to work in reverse, sending alien soldiers floating helplessly toward the ceiling. Ari had reversed the air circulation system, filling certain sections with sleeping gas while keeping others perfectly clean for herself and her companions. Day had taken control of the ship's construction robots, turning helpful maintenance machines into an army of metal servants. None of this should have been possible. The humans had been prisoners for weeks. They had never seen the inside of the ship before today. Yet they moved through its halls with the confidence of people who had lived there for years. In his hidden laboratory, Dr. Min frantically tried to understand what was happening. Most of his equipment was destroyed, but a few backup systems still worked. His assistant Ho was gone, probably trapped somewhere else on the ship. Only his newest helper, Na, remained with him in the small emergency shelter they had sealed themselves. Inside, "Look at these readings," Min said, his voice filled with wonder and terror. He pointed at a small screen showing data from the humans' brain scans. "I managed to download some information before they took over the main computers." Na leaned closer to see the display. Her green skin had turned pale with fear. "What does it mean, Doctor?" Min's 6 hands moved quickly over the keyboard, bringing up more data files. "I've been studying these readings for hours. The neural patterns are unlike anything I have ever seen. Look here, these are memory centers in the human brain. But they are not storing normal memories." The screen showed complex brain maps with millions of glowing connections. Most alien brains had simple, straightforward patterns. But the human brains looked like vast libraries, with information stored in layers upon layers of compressed data. "Each human carries the memories of thousands of other humans," Min explained. "Not their own experiences, but the knowledge and skills of their entire species. It is like having 1,000,000 teachers inside your head, all waiting to share what they know." Na stared at the screen in amazement. "But how is this possible? Memories cannot be passed down through families like eye color or height." Min pulled up another file, this one showing genetic information. "That is what I thought too, but look at this. The human genetic code contains sections that have nothing to do with their physical bodies. These sections store compressed information, battle tactics, technical knowledge, survival skills, everything their species has learned over thousands of years." The data was incredible. Humans were not just individuals. They were living libraries, each one carrying the accumulated wisdom of their entire civilization. Every human farmer knew the fighting techniques of ancient warriors. Every human teacher understood military strategy better than trained generals. Every human mechanic could build weapons that had not been used for centuries. "We thought they were primitive," Min whispered to Na, as the truth became clear. "But they are not primitive at all. They are archives, living collections of knowledge that have been growing for thousands of years." The sound of footsteps in the corridor outside made both aliens freeze. The emergency shelter had been their hiding place for 3 hours, but now someone was approaching. The footsteps were steady and calm, not the panicked running of fleeing crew members. The door slid open with a soft hiss. Jin stood in the doorway, but he was not the same broken prisoner who had sat quietly in his cell just hours ago. His posture was straight and confident. His eyes held the wisdom of someone much older. When he smiled, it was not cruel or angry, but patient, like a teacher greeting new students. "Dr. Min," Jin said politely, "your research has been very illuminating. I've been reading through your files, and I must say, your understanding of human biology is quite impressive. You came closer to the truth than any other scientist in the galaxy." Min pressed himself against the back wall of the shelter. "What do you want from us?" "I want to teach you," Jin replied. "You have spent years trying to understand how humans fight so effectively. Now you will learn the answer. But first, we need to go somewhere with more students." Behind Jin, the ship's navigation displays showed their new course. The Void Hunter was no longer drifting in empty space. It was moving at maximum speed toward the heart of the Confederacy, where billions of aliens lived on hundreds of worlds. "Class is about to begin," Jin said with that same patient smile, "and everyone in the galaxy is going to learn something new about humanity." Through the ship's communication system, they could hear Ari's voice making announcements to the remaining crew members. Her words were calm and professional, like she was back in her old job as a school teacher. "Attention all personnel," Ari said. "Please remain calm and follow all instructions. Your cooperation will make this learning experience much more pleasant for everyone involved." The 3 humans had not just captured a ship, they had turned it into a classroom, and the entire galaxy was about to become their students. Admiral Wu stood on the bridge of his flagship, the galaxy's edge, staring at the largest collection of warships ever assembled in known history. 3,000 vessels from 40 different worlds floated in perfect formation around the Confederacy's capital system. Battle cruisers the size of cities hung next to sleek destroyers and massive carrier ships loaded with fighter craft. Each ship represented the finest military technology that centuries of galactic civilization could produce. Plasma cannons that could melt asteroids, shield generators strong enough to stop nuclear explosions, crews trained from birth to fight and win against any enemy the galaxy could imagine. But Admiral Wu felt something he had never experienced in his 50 years of military service. Fear. "Sir," reported his communications officer, her voice shaking slightly. "The hijacked research vessel will reach our outer defense grid in 6 hours. Should we prepare to fire?" Wu's forearms gripped the railing in front of him. His red skin had turned a darker shade as stress hormones flooded his system. "Hold fire for now. I want to see what they do when they arrive." The single stolen ship heading toward them should not have been a threat. The Void Hunter was a research vessel, not a warship. It had no heavy weapons, no armor plating, no military crew. 3 humans and a handful of alien prisoners should not have been able to challenge the most powerful fleet in galactic history. But something was happening across the galaxy that made Admiral Wu question everything he thought he knew about warfare. "Admiral," called his intelligence officer from across the bridge, "we are receiving new reports from the outer colonies. The situation is spreading." Wu turned to face the officer. "What kind of reports?" "Every human settlement within 1,000 light years has gone silent, sir. But our spy satellites show that the humans are not hiding or running away. They are organizing." The main viewing screen flickered to life, showing images from dozens of different worlds. On the farming planet Harvest 7, human colonists had stopped their normal work and were now moving in perfect military formations across the fields. Children who had been playing simple games were now speaking in complex tactical language that would confuse trained officers. On the mining station Deep Rock, human workers had transformed their industrial equipment into weapons of incredible efficiency. Mining lasers became precision artillery. Cargo haulers became assault vehicles. Simple construction robots had been reprogrammed into mechanical soldiers that moved with deadly grace. "Look at this one," the intelligence officer said, switching to another view. "This is the colony on Kepler Prime. Yesterday, these humans were farming vegetables and teaching children. Today, they are building fortifications that follow military engineering principles. Our best architects do not understand." Admiral Wu watched the images with growing unease. The humans were not acting like panicked civilians or even trained soldiers. They moved with the confidence and skill of people who had been planning these actions for years. But that was impossible. Most of these colonists had never seen combat in their entire lives. "How many humans are we talking about?" Wu asked. "Over 40 million across all the affected systems, sir, and the number is growing every hour," Oni bored the approaching Void Hunter. Dr. Min sat in what had once been his own laboratory, now converted into something between a classroom and a command center. The humans had not harmed him or his assistant Na, but they had made it very clear that they were no longer prisoners. "I do not understand," Min said to Jin, who was calmly reading through technical manuals at a speed that should have been impossible. "How can you know all of this? You were a mechanic on a small colony. These are advanced military strategies that take decades to learn." Jin looked up from his reading with that same patient smile. "Dr. Min, your research was excellent, but you were asking the wrong questions. You wanted to know how humans could fight so well. The real question is why we were made to fight so well." "Made?" Na whispered from her corner. "What do you mean?" "Made?" Ari turned from the pilot controls where she had been flying the ship with impossible skill. "Dr. Min, show them the genetic data you discovered. The sections that do not match any natural evolutionary pattern." Min hesitated, then activated his portable scanner. The screen showed human DNA patterns that had puzzled him for months. Large sections of the genetic code seemed to serve no biological function. They did not control height or eye color or any physical trait. They just sat there, taking up space. "I thought these were junk sequences," Min admitted. "Leftover genetic material from human evolution that no longer served any purpose." "They are not junk," Day said from his position at the communication console. "They are libraries, storage systems for information that has been carefully preserved for thousands of years." The screen changed, showing new data that Min had never seen before. The mysterious genetic sequences were not random at all. They contained compressed information, battle tactics, engineering knowledge, scientific discoveries, survival techniques, everything that intelligent species had learned over millions of years of galactic history. "We are not a natural species," Ari explained calmly. "We were created by an ancient race called the Builders. They traveled the galaxy long before any of your civilizations existed, studying every form of life they encountered. They learned from warrior races like the Krextar, master tacticians like the Vindi, brilliant engineers like the HFY." Min stared at the data in amazement. The Builders disappeared millions of years ago. Most scientists think they were just legends. "They were very real," Jin said. "And when they realized that the galaxy would eventually fall into endless warfare, they decided to create a solution. They designed a species that would carry the accumulated knowledge of every civilization they had studied. A species that could teach the galaxy how to fight properly when the time came. That species was humanity," Dee added. "We are living libraries, Dr. Min. Each of us carries the compressed memories and skills of thousands of different races. When the activation signal is triggered, we remember everything our creators learned." The communication console suddenly lit up with hundreds of incoming signals. Messages were pouring in from across the galaxy as human settlements completed their transformations. Simple colonists had become military commanders. Peaceful farmers had become strategic planners. Children had become tactical analysts. "Phase 3 complete," Day announced. "All students present and accounted for." Admiral Wu watched his screens in stunned silence as the truth became clear. The humans were not trying to conquer the galaxy. They were not even trying to destroy the Confederacy fleet. They were preparing to teach. "Admiral," his communications officer called out, "the research vessel is broadcasting on all frequencies. The humans want to talk." Harry's voice came through the ship's speakers, calm and professional, like a teacher addressing a classroom full of students. "Greetings, Admiral Wu and the Confederacy fleet. We are not here to fight you. We are here to educate you. For too long, the galaxy has stumbled through conflicts without understanding the true nature of warfare. Today that changes. Class is now in session." The kill switch was not humanity's secret weapon. It was their true purpose, to wake up when the galaxy needed teachers the most. The final battle began exactly as Admiral Wu had planned it. His massive fleet split into hunting groups, each one targeting a different human colony. The strategy was simple and had worked for centuries against rebellious planets. Surround the settlements, demand surrender, and if they refused, destroy them quickly with overwhelming firepower. Admiral Wu expected the humans to panic. He thought they would send desperate messages begging for mercy, or maybe try to run away in their slow cargo ships. What he did not expect was silence. On the farming world of New Eden, Captain Yule led 12 heavy cruisers toward the main human settlement. His ships carried enough firepower to level entire cities. The human colony had maybe 50 small vessels, cargo haulers, mining ships, and converted civilian craft that should not have posed any threat to military warships. "This will be over in minutes," Captain Yule told his crew as they approached the planet. That was when everything went wrong. The first human ship to move was piloted by someone called G. According to intelligence reports, G had been a simple maintenance worker who fixed broken equipment in the colony's workshops. His vessel was nothing more than a converted cargo hauler with a plasma torch attached to the front, the kind of tool used for cutting through metal, not fighting wars. But the way G used that plasma torch made Captain Yule's blood freeze. The human ship moved through space like it was dancing, spinning, and diving in patterns that seemed impossible for such a clumsy-looking vessel. The plasma torch cut through the void in precise, deadly arcs that followed techniques Captain Yule had only read about in ancient military texts. "Those are Phantom Legion combat forms," Yule's tactical officer whispered in amazement. "But that species has been extinct for 10,000 years. The Phantom Legion had been legendary warriors, famous for their ability to make any weapon deadly through perfect technique and timing. They could turn a simple blade into something more dangerous than the most advanced energy rifle. But they had vanished from the galaxy long before any current civilization had reached the stars. Yet here was a human mechanic, flying a converted cargo ship, using their exact fighting style. G's plasma torch sliced through the shields of Yule's flagship like they were made of paper. The beam found weak points in the armor that should have been impossible to detect from the outside. Within seconds, one of the most advanced warships in the galaxy was drifting helplessly, its main systems destroyed by what looked like a maintenance tool. Across the battle zone, similar scenes were playing out on dozens of worlds. On the mining station Deep Rock, a pilot named Hive was flying a cargo hauler against 3 Confederacy destroyers. Her ship was ugly and slow, designed for carrying ore between planets, not fighting wars. But Hive flew like no one Admiral Zhou had ever seen. She made her bulky cargo ship twist and turn through space in moves that defied physics. She flew in perfect spirals that brought her close enough to the enemy ships to strike, then carried her away before they could respond. Her movements followed patterns that reminded military historians of the legendary Void Dancers, a race of pilots so skilled they could make asteroids dance to their will. The Void Dancers had been myths, stories told to inspire young pilots. Most military experts believed they had never really existed. But watching Hive pilot her converted cargo hauler, those experts began to question everything they thought they knew about the history of the galaxy. "Impossible," Admiral Zhou muttered. As he watched the battle reports flood in, his ships were not losing to superior technology or greater numbers. They were being outfought by farmers and miners, using techniques that belonged in ancient history books. On his main screen, he could see the battle around New Eden. Human ships that should have been easy targets were systematically destroying his most advanced warships. They fought with perfect coordination, as if all their pilots shared the same mind. Every attack was timed to perfection. Every defense was placed exactly where it needed to be. "Admiral," his communications officer called out urgently, "our shields are failing. The human ships are targeting weak points we did not even know existed." Zhou looked around his bridge and saw fear in the eyes of his crew. These were veteran soldiers who had fought in dozens of campaigns. They had seen every kind of enemy the galaxy could produce, but they had never faced anything like this. "How?" Zhou demanded, as explosions rocked his flagship. "How can they know? Our ship designs better than we do." Jin's voice came through the communication system, calm and patient like a teacher explaining a simple lesson to confused students. "Every species that ever perfected warfare lives within us, Admiral Zhou. And the Ray. Builders embedded their knowledge so deep that we forgot we carried it for thousands of years. Until now." On the screen, Zhou could see human ships pressing their attack. They were crude vessels made from mining equipment and farming tools, but they moved with the grace and skill of master warriors. Each pilot fought with techniques borrowed from a different extinct civilization. Each ship captain used strategies that had been lost to time. "The Krextar taught us how to find weak points in any armor," Jin continued. "The Vindi showed us how to coordinate attacks across vast distances. The Zephi gave us their engineering knowledge to modify our simple tools into weapons of incredible precision." Admiral Wu's fleet began to retreat, something that had never happened in the entire history of the Confederacy military. His ships, scattered in all directions, running from cargo haulers and mining vessels piloted by humans who should not have known one end of a starship from the other. "This is not possible," Wu said to himself. "We have the best training, the most advanced weapons, the finest military tradition in the galaxy." Ari's voice joined Jin's on the communication channels. She sounded like she was back in her old job as a school teacher, patient and kind, but absolutely certain of her authority. "Class is now in session," Ari transmitted to the fleeing ships. "Today's lesson is about why some species choose to survive while others choose to conquer. The builders understood that conquest leads to destruction, but survival requires wisdom. The human fleet did not pursue the retreating Confederacy ships. They had made their point without destroying more vessels than necessary. They had shown the galaxy something that would change everything." As Admiral Wu's broken fleet limped away from the battle zone, he realized that humanity had not just won a military victory. They had revealed themselves to be something completely unexpected. Not conquerors seeking to rule the galaxy, but teachers preparing to share lessons that had been waiting for millions of years. The stars themselves seemed to burn brighter as the truth spread across the galaxy through emergency broadcasts and military reports. Humanity had taken its place as the galaxy's newest and most terrifying teachers. The kill switch had been activated not to destroy civilizations, but to educate them. And the first lesson had been written in blood and fire across the void, teaching everyone who witnessed it that sometimes the most dangerous enemy is the one who knows exactly what they are doing.